The sample A is great. If you want a cup of it, it's fantastic.
It's a much higher toned coffee for me.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, in the higher registers, fruit, some flowers. I can find the cedar, but it's backgrounded. Actually,
Yeah,
I think it's more prominent. It's more fir, a kind of a less aromatic wood. Pleasant. The fruit has a kind of a, not like black cherry, some fruit like a kind of a low-tone, juicy fruit. There's a sweet nut that I could cite. Kind of a cashew, one of my favorites.
Cashew.
You smell that? It's kind of a sweet, a buttery nut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going for
What were you going
pistachio,
for?
actually. It's closer.
Well, I think pistachio is more distinctive, but at any rate, it's a very pleasing nut, sweet and buttery. And I think the nut's much more prominent than any cedar or any kind of wood we might cite. I think the flowers are very contexted into the fruit, so I'm thinking it's less floral. I mean, the first cup had amazing range, and this one, the range is it's higher toned, and the range is a little not as wide.
Narrower.
So that makes me think it's more. It's closer to a classic washed cup. Oh, I'm getting leather now, the fresh leather.
Leather.
It's hard to, now that all the purse manufacturers are doing vegan leather, meaning vinyl, I guess. I was shopping for a purse for a Christmas present, and they all said vegan leather. I said, oh, I know what that is. Probably a lot more sophisticated manufacturer than the old vinyl. You don't get that wonderful fresh leather smell from those objects, that's for sure. But I'm definitely getting an old-fashioned fresh leather note. Boy, the fruit is very nice.
Yeah.
And you were talking in your introduction about spice, and so this has a spice, doesn't it? I'm almost thinking like peppercorns. If you put pepper, like maybe white peppercorns, I don't know, it's a different kind, green peppercorns. You put them in a pepper mill, and you get that wonderful rush of aroma. Picking up some of that possibility. Let's taste. I'm thinking this is a good candidate for a orthodox washed coffee, as opposed to, it could be a very, very clean wet hulk, but in which they overdid the clean side of the process. But
I'll have to look it up.
Well, we'll see in a minute, but let's just reflect. It really simplifies, doesn't it? The aromatics tend to dissipate or consolidate, and you get just basic taste of a classic coffee taste, kind of balanced acidity. I'm getting that, what I'm calling a cherry, like a black cherry note.
Black cherry
I
is
think
good.
it's carrying very well into the cup. Not getting much flowers, getting the cashew, but mainly a kind of a nice, round, balanced fruit. Stone fruit, cherry. And the cherry carries very nicely into the finish. But again, everything's simpler, isn't it, than A. And again, I would go for, I guess cedar, but I might go for fir as a wood. No, it's not prominent.
Not coming through. I smelled it, not tasting it.
I'm getting the nut,
Cashew
some
is
kind of
coming
cashew.
through.
But the fruit very much, not much in the way of flowers. And it's a pleasant finish, but not very interesting. It's a balanced finish, Sample A, there was astringency in the finish, in the cup and in the finish. And I'm not getting that with this one. A balanced kind of sweetness, quiet acidity, that's a positive. But it doesn't have all of the aromatic complexities that we picked up in cup A. Well, what is it, Kevin? Let's see. That's a surprise. Mutu Batak. Batak is the name of the cultural group that live around Lake Toba and who essentially they evolved the wet hulled method. I mean, it evolved in their area, and they became associated with it.
Yeah.
Well, he says cacao, cedar, and bell pepper, and Klatch has a long history with good Sumatra.
Oh.
So
Sought
I
them
don't
out.
know. Certainly, well, go for a little more funk next time, Mike, when you pick your Sumatra. Cup A was certainly more idiosyncratic and more distinctive, and had a wider range of sensation than this Klatch Cup B. Yeah, I just remembered that Mike Perry, who heads up Klatch, actually was in Sumatra about 3 years ago. I think. He actually, one of the few coffee people I know who's actually visited. Unfortunately, when the typical visit to a coffee growing area is that you're herded around by some tour leader who really wants to get you to lunch as soon as they can. At any rate, I'd say go for a little more funk in your Sumatra, Mike. It's a very pleasant coffee, and some people would prefer it. It doesn't have a very bright acidity, so somebody who buys it doesn't like a bright cup would probably be satisfied by it. It has a pretty good mouthfeel, right? Not as viscous as A. A nice mouthfeel, less Sumatraness.
Please like and subscribe if you want to see more shows like this.